Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt here with Alyx King and Daniel Mangana and the Stream of David. Today is Tuesday, August the 4th, 2020. It's 4 p.m. New York time, and wherever you are in the world, thanks for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And I have previously detailed on this show various times where I've had to influence the weather because I didn't like what was happening. I wanted to make it better, and I'm in the midst of doing that right now because for people who are aware of what's going on the east coast of the United States, in the Northeast, we're dealing with the remnants of Tropical Storm Isaias, which is passing through Connecticut right now. We're dealing with tornado warnings, and guys, I've been doing my blue skies routine where I just focus on blue skies smiling at me, and I just stay in that blue skies place, and it's working. The storm is kind of giving me a hard time. I think a lot of people are really afraid because of all the warnings that are going on right now, because I'm kind of getting not quite the range that I normally get. But I'll calm it down and I'll walk away. I'll come back and like, it just picked up again. Calm it down again. I mean, I've been going through this routine for like the last 20 minutes. Calm down, walk away. Nope, calm down. It's been quite the experience. But David and I were talking before the show, and David, you were remarking about how this stuff kind of reinforces how we're able to control and influence what happens in our lives, despite what happens anywhere else. And that's precisely what I've experienced by trying to influence weather over and over and over again throughout my life. I thought that was a very apropos comment you made.
We definitely create our own bubble of reality and exist in it, and it doesn't have to be what the rest of the world is experiencing at all.
That's true. So we've had flickers of electricity going on off here, so it's possible I may get knocked off. I don't think I'm going to, though. I'm in a pretty good vibe just staying with keeping the electricity on and nice calm weather. But just in case, if it does work out, I'll let you guys pick up on the questions. I do hope I can stay connected, though, David, because I've got almost a dozen questions for you, not quite. So you're going to be busy channeling today. It's going to be.
I was going to say the stream is all stretched and warmed up and ready to go. So.
Stretched and you've done your warm ups. Okay, well that's good. That's really good. So good stuff. All right, so why don't you go ahead and start making your connection? And meanwhile, I will remind people who are not yet downloaded on the LOA Today app that you can download the LOA Today app on either the iPhone or on the Android phone. Just go to the App Store or the Play Store if you haven't done it, because that's where everything's happening right now, including being able to ask questions of the stream, which we are about to do. So we complete with theme music. I love it. That's right. From our resident crooner. So it looks like we got a connection. I'm hearing it. They are here. Welcome, stream. Thank you for joining us today. And like I was telling David, we have a bunch of questions for you. I'm going to start with one for myself, and then I'm going to launch into a bunch that our listeners have sent in to us. I'm just going to follow up on a question that I raised last week. I was understanding more about what expansion is. I just wanted to ask one really straightforward question. When we talk about expansion, when expansion happens, does the quantity of source energy increase?
Yes. Very simple answer is yes. Of course, you're speaking in an energetic quantity, but that's what expansion is. And the expansion is an expansion of density, if you will, which essentially in a physical realm would be the expansion of quantity.
And that's fascinating because our scientists will tell us that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but what we're talking about here is essentially energy creation.
There are many things that have yet to be fully realized by your scientists and the expansive nature of the universe. When you are thinking in physical terms and referring to universal energy, you are a long way from discovering how abundant that truly is. And there are things that cannot be answered that are ignored because they are beyond comprehension, and that is understandable.
Yeah, that's good. I was suspecting that this was true. I'm glad to hear that it's true. So I got my question answered. So we're going to move on to the more difficult ones. Actually, they're probably pretty easy for you, but they take longer to read, so maybe that's what makes them more difficult. Anyway, Laurel, who wrote in previously, said, have you heard of or read the 1925 book called How to Play the Game of Life by Florence Scovel Shinn. She says it's an audio video. And she asked because the teachings in that book sound just like you.
Interesting using the terminology have we heard of or read.
Yes, right. I don't know how else to explain that other than to read what she said.
Utilizing David's knowledge base, we will say that David has heard of that book but has not read it.
Okay.
but the ones that you consider channels, by and large, are all tapping into the same consciousness. This is part of all of you, all creation. And when you remove the filtration of your religious teachings and other human created accoutrements to channeling the energetic realm and get really into pure universal law, the message is always going to be the same. Even with expansion, that universal law is very simple and does not change.
That's pretty straightforward. So essentially what you're inferring there is that this author, among many, has been able to connect into source and basically read, for lack of a better term, what that universal law is, to receive that information, and then she translated it into her book in 1925.
There has never been a period on planet Earth where there weren't varying degrees of humans being able to receive and decode and share this message.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we're moving right along. This is going to go quickly, I think. Chuck wrote in, and he said, I have another question for the stream. Up until the beginning of the COVID-19 shutdowns this year, I had been in an extended period of extreme low vibration in my life. I was immersed in very high anxiety and extremely low depression that I was unable to shake for any significant length of time. I've since come to appreciate that dark period. I've grown and I'm very much healed from it. The question I have revolves around the beginning of it. My downward shift began on the week of the solar eclipse in 2017. I had heard that high anxiety is often a symptom of people who become sensitive to cosmic events. Throughout the course of that 2.5-year period, my anxiety would really peak during various phases of the moon. So, is this some sort of reverse placebo effect that I allowed to gain momentum?
We speak often of polarity being the driver of all creation. And by the driver of all creation, polarity is what you're referring to there. And polarity is causing your vibration to fluctuate up and down a virtual vibrational spiral. And when you're at the top of your spiral, you're creating positive things. And when you're down in lower vibration, you are canceling and slowing some of the positive things and attracting unwanted things. And this cycle is natural. Notice that there is evidence of it all around you. And absolutely, in your astrology teachings, you are tapping into the fact that polarity is real, and you can even gain an idea of a sort of rhythmic fluctuation that you're all going to encounter. But in this rhythmic fluctuation, you are manifesting a mix of positive things and what you would call negative or unwanted things. And in your manifestation of unwanted things, or these low vibrational periods, you are creating obstacles for yourselves. And in the creation of obstacles, you are actually offering yourselves an opportunity to create a more perfect version of something more that has not existed before. That is your new creation. That is your expansion. So these periods, these astrological periods, are real, but we always guide you back inward to understand that polarity is a real thing, but your thoughts hold more power than the actual polarity that you're being impacted by, because a little bit of a downward trend in polarity is a natural thing, but then what you do with your thinking process is going to dictate what comes next. And the more time you spend raising your vibration and doing high vibrational work, the more of your desires you're going to manifest, the more you're going to be connected to our energy, the more intuition you're going to have, the more abundance you're going to receive. This is not about never going down, but it's about behaving differently when you are down. The prolonged periods of lower vibration are always a self-fulfilling creation.
So, stream.
You have manifested a time for you to ask your own question.
And just as I manifested that, Walt manifested himself back. I'd like to say hello and thank you for all you do as we welcome Walt back to being in
Ta-da!
the
I thought for sure there was a flicker. I thought for sure, oh, we'll get through that okay. And no, the flicker lasted a little too long. But that's okay.
Manifesting power is still intact though, Walt, because here you are.
Well, it kind of reinforces, it's challenging to keep this stuff going 100% of the time. And I mean, I've been able to do a lot of influencing, but I can't always get it perfect. And this is just one time I couldn't get it perfect, but that's okay. Hey, I'm connected back again. That's the main thing. So I hope you guys had a nice chat while I was away. I imagine you probably didn't catch most of the questions, so I should probably ask the question again.
No, the question was answered.
The question was answered?
Quite beautifully.
Cool. Okay. Well, then we'll move on. Next question comes from Carla. Actually, Carla had a few questions. First, she says, now we're back to basics here again. She says, Abraham speaks of the vortex. What she wants to know from the stream is, what does the vortex mean to you?
We understand because of David's knowledge base that the vortex is what we refer to as being up your spiral in high vibration. And the teachings around that are about keeping yourselves in the vortex, which is the same thing as doing the vibrational work to keep your vibration high. The only slight variation, perhaps, is that we delve a little deeper into the value of the low vibration creation territory. Again, you are absorbing universal law, and it's very simple. And it is the process of creation is the law of attraction, and the law of attraction is governed by polarity. Everything else is sort of a human spin-off of that in your other beliefs and tools and things of this nature. The vortex is a human creation so that you and your human mind can imagine a vortex, a place of pure positive energy that you can move yourself vibrationally into and be in a high vibrational state and manifest everything that you want. That is not inaccurate at all. There is nothing wrong with that. But the Abraham message is a co-creation of our energy and Esther, just as this message is a co-creation of our message and David. And there are slight variations, but there's value in all of it. And we always guide you to pay attention to what resonates with you and move on from whatever does not.
Mm. So seeing as I've manifested myself back into the captain's chair.
You have questions for us, and you are manifesting your path to
I know, I've got so many questions. It's funny because so many times I've had the opportunity to ask questions, and I haven't actually had at the front of mind the question. But one thing that I've been playing with personally of late stream is this idea of everything being okay because I've let go of my stories around it not just being okay. So kind of stopping getting caught up in not being okay and just being up my spiral. I think through the appreciation, the work of appreciation that David speaks of, that he and I had a talk once, and it really just clicked into place about that. So I was wondering if you could speak about where appreciation isn't just pretending things are okay.
You move beyond pretending when you understand the perfection of imperfection. This is why we say we do not judge, and there is truly no negative from our perspective, but we understand in your human perspective there are things that you are experiencing in your lives and you are observing on your planet that you want to change. People being harmed and abused and things of this nature. Absolutely, we understand that you do not want those things to occur, especially in your higher vibrational state where you are in such high vibration you would never wish to bring harm to anyone or know of anyone being harmed. The imperfection and the what you would consider evil deeds of your planet or the aspects of your lives that you do not prefer are there to inspire new creation, thus inspiring expansion that we speak of often. The higher perspective of all of this is that there is nothing happening on your planet that is going to end that which you are. You are all eternal beings, and you all came here for the contrast. You all came to have a mix of positive and negative, if you will. And the ones that are experiencing what you would consider extreme negative place themselves in the path of that from a soul consciousness perspective, understanding what may be offered in that vibrational alignment of that path: abuse, neglect, illness, poverty, genocide, things of this nature. And from your perspective, you are seeing that, thinking that is a horrible thing that should never be. But the one that is in it and manifesting it is experiencing it from their own perspective. And there is an opportunity for expansion offered regardless of the outcome. And when you return to your completed state, you look back at your human experience almost, it's very hard to put this into human words because you do not have human words that truly describe this. But the very best that we can do with David's vocabulary is to describe it as a brief weekend trip. It is a brief getaway from your eternal completed state where you come and have a certain experience, and sometimes the experience is very positive and sometimes it can be less than that. But there is an experience offered nonetheless in all walks. So regardless of what you're seeing manifesting, or regardless of what you have manifested up until this moment that you are perceiving as your now, you have the ability to shift your perspective of all of it to one of appreciation. And in the shifting to appreciation of it, you are detuning the transgressor of it, meaning the triggers that pull your vibration down, the unwanted people, circumstances, and events of your lives that sort of swirl around in your lower vibrational territory, waiting for you, waiting for polarity to dip you down just a bit. And then they are there to connect and drag you down further via your train of thought because of the negative judgment that you hold regarding these memories. When you rewrite the memory to one of something that caused you expansion and served you in some way, even if the serving was only that you survived it, that is a starting point. Then you start detuning that negative energy. Then suddenly you begin to understand that this cycle of negative and positive, polarity taking you up and down, is creating your life experience. And you did not come here to just sail through life effortlessly and manifest everything that you desire with great ease. We understand that sells books, but you are not experiencing one human being on your planet that is actually experiencing that.
I love that. So there's an authenticity to the journey. And actually, the beauty is in recognizing the ephemeral nature of the entirety of our experience. And that once we step into an awareness and acknowledgement and an acceptance of that ephemeral nature, then none of it is pretending. All of it is appreciation.
You were able to appreciate all of it. There is a term on your planet of faking it until you make it, and seeking appreciation for in the beginning just to get into the vibrational territory of appreciation. That we often speak of utilizing your imagination to bridge the gap, understanding that your imagination in general, consciousness in general, is the source of all creation. Your imagination is continually creating your life. Whatever you're focused upon, how you're perceiving it, how you're judging it, and how you're feeling about it is what's creating the next moment and the next manifestation. And it's all your manifestation, all of it. So when you start to perceive and judge in a more positive way, even if you're having to fake it for yourself, you are at very least raising your vibration around it, because in the faking of it, you're not letting it drag you down as far as perhaps you have before. So you're doing a little better. You've got momentum going in a positive direction. You're going up your spiral regarding this rather than down where you've always allowed yourself to go before. So you start to tell a different story about all that has been and all that is, and seeing it differently and finding full appreciation for all of it ultimately, if you so choose.
So the faking it until you make it really is, because the truth is the vibration in the moment. So it's not faking it if you feel that vibration in the moment. We may have used a narrative of what we didn't believe in the moment preceding it, but the moment we stepped into it, we're no longer faking it, we are it.
Indeed. The quote-unquote faking it is using your imagination as step one of creation.
Brilliant. Thank you, Stream. And welcome back. Walt is back here.
It's quite the journey today. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But I have to say, despite everything, I mean, there's a lot of activity going on. we're still here. We're still there. I mean, we had an outage that time lasted about 5 seconds, and I just refused to let it get me down. I said, no, this is going to come back. Came back. And the winds started to pick up again. I started to calm them down again. I mean, it's an interesting day. It's a very interesting day. I'm being tested on my ability to stay in that high vibe place. But the good news is you guys continued. You kept going. And Daniel, I didn't capture the question. Obviously, I missed that part, but it sounds like it was a pretty cool question that was being answered.
We will point out as well that in you're raising the vibration with an intention of holding the show in a specific reality. You sort of cross over this barrier of holding it in high vibration via your intention to needing a specific outcome. And when you need the specific outcome, you are lowering the vibration. You sort of fall over the cliff with it.
Yeah.
And you are actually manifesting an excellent example for all of your audience to see how this creation works. Setting the intention to have the show be perfection and leaving it there and not trying to harness the power of the weather and control things this is an example of that when you try to control a little too much, you actually end up lowering the vibration of control that you seek, and you're popping in and out. But we will also point out the perfection of the steps that you took to ensure that the show stayed on the air before the show ever began.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that David and Dan are here appearing, and David is sharing our message, and the interaction continues. There is value in all of this. This is a magical interaction.
It's a good way to describe it. Thank you very much for that. And for me, it is one more experience where I am learning how to stay to my higher control, to stay in that place where I trust better, where I let go of the outcome. I mean, because you're right. I was trying to hold the show up. It's like, no, it's not really the best way to go. Not if you want to keep it going. Not if you want to keep the connection going. But it's a learning experience, and it's a fabulous one. So yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. So I'm not sure where we got with the questions that I was asking for Carla. I think you were kind of in the middle of answering the one about Vortex, and I think you probably answered that one. Mm-hmm. So I'll just go on to the next one she had. She says, if someone is injured, would you have any suggestions regarding healing? This should be good.
Anytime you have manifested an injury, you will see a common theme in what we are offering here for you. First of all, showing appreciation for the manifestation. The fastest path to healing is to show appreciation for the manifestation and understanding that there is always something to appreciate in everything that you consider unwanted. Generally, with an injury, you have manifested a sort of break for yourself. Not literally, of course, but you have manifested this period of time that you have to go deeper and perhaps rest and recover, and you are actually healing other things in your life other than just the physical injury. And you may or may not even be aware of this, but eventually you will come around to full awareness of what that time period of healing from this injury has actually offered. And it is far more than just the physical healing. But showing appreciation for whatever negative thing you have manifested is the fastest way to solve it.
Sorry, I was muted, stream. So I'd actually like to come back to the lesson that Walt allowed us to experience with regards to wanting something too much. And that's the idea of desire that comes through the heart and desire that comes through the mind. So the difference between an egoic desire and a true source energy speaking through us, wanting to witness itself through what we can manifest. Can you speak to that, or am I not being too clear?
All of your human creation desires are what you would call an egoic desire. You are here in physical as a human being. You are being driven by ego, and at your best, you're balancing that ego with your soul consciousness perspective. And the ego is driving you to achieve and to create and to experience which is a very good thing. It's why you came here. The soul consciousness is sort of calling you forward through the experience, through the appreciation of the ups and downs, the positive and the negative experiences, and appreciating the perfection of imperfection. This is a cornerstone of what we are here to offer in this episode of this broadcast. The imperfection of it, being the perfection that it is an awesome example of that.
Beautiful. So everything is ego, and there's nothing wrong with that. So let me tighten this up a little bit more then. In fact, you know what? I'm going to leave that because I think I get it. And if something tweaks up, I'll tweak on it. I'd like to ask on two things. We'll see how much time I get to ask both of them. The first of them is this. What if, at a soul level, we change our mind during the human experience? Is that something that can occur?
Your soul consciousness desire, if you will, is to come and have a physical experience of chance and find your paths to freedom and joy in a physical way and experience a physical environment and the things that you discern as your preference, understanding that they are all expressions of that which we are. And the only thing that is really driving you through all of this is your human ego. The soul is not going to have a difference of opinion based on what your life outcome is or what the path or journey has been at any certain point. Whatever that manifested path is your creation from a human perspective and expands your eternal consciousness. But there's not a changing of the mind. The goal is always the same, is to come and have this unique experience of expansion and understand that you are having these multiple expansive experiences simultaneously, and that is always being rewritten, if you will, in a more expansive way with each experience, but they are happening at the same time. So there is no changing of the mind of a specific human life. That would be more of a linear time way of thinking, that you are moving along linear time, and your human apparatus reaches age 40, for instance, and suddenly your soul consciousness is not going to place that human apparatus on a separate path because it never placed a path in the first place. The entire point of physical is to come and experience physical as a vibrational alignment to a set of desires for expansion in general, and having your life be what it is based on your sum of vibrational choices.
So sometimes we make it more complicated than it is by giving the soul more of a mission than
you very often make it more complicated than it is. You are here in a state of free will, and your lives amount to your sum of vibrational choices, always. And there is no preset path for you, and there is no desired path from us for you. You are going to expand in this experience regardless of how you experience it. You can come and never discover our message, never delve into spirituality, never believe the law of attraction, and have an expansive experience. You can come and live what you would consider a very negative existence, where you are harming other people, and in the harming of other people and supplying contrast to the planet, have an experience that is expansive for your soul consciousness. And there are no consequences on the other side for how you behave in your now as a human being. You like to set up this scenario to where if you're good on planet Earth, you're going to inherit the kingdom of heaven and have everything you ever wanted after death. The idea of heaven or hell is actually your own creation in your now, because anyone who is delivering that level of contrast to others in the form of harming them is doing so from a lower vibrational stance and living their own version of hell while they are physical.
So heaven and hell, law of relativity, really are happening now, and they're experiences that also both expand the adventure of the soul through the human experience.
There is value in all paths, and you have all been every version of humanity and well beyond that into infinity that you could even possibly imagine. You all have a dark side to you, as you are all aware, but your sum of choices can lead you away from that darkness into a behavior that leads you to light. And But there's truly no darkness and no light. These are human terms that we utilize to communicate with all of you. But this idea of good and evil from the energetic realm, there is high vibrational energy and there's low vibrational energy that serves a purpose, but the judgment of and the treatment of others is all human construct. That is all your own human creation. There is no wizard in the energetic realm sending good or evil to your lives or to your planet. That is all your own creation while you were here physical.
Thank you. Welcome back, Walt.
I'm back again. I am working very hard on taking my attention away from reports that I'm hearing about massive numbers of power outages and so forth, but it's a challenge. It is a challenge. I will get out of my system and say I know that currently there are over 250,000 people without power here in the state, so we're actually doing pretty well to be reconnecting each time. Anyway, getting back to questions, this is a question that actually came within the live stream from Jenny. This goes back to what we were talking about at the top of the show about the nature of source energy and about what happens, how source energy increases when expansion takes place, and that the follow-up question where we were talking about how lots of people throughout history have been able to tap into source energy and get information and translate it, such as Florence Scovel Shinn. Jenny's question is, were humans like Da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Einstein some individuals who were in touch with source? She says she would guess that they were.
In one way or another, you are all in touch with source. We flow through into all creation, and you are all part of us. You all have your own version of this. As far as tapping into it on a deeper level, you are all on independent paths. And there are a handful of humans that have the combination of having the abilities early on and not allowing your environment to work your abilities out of you, and then having a life experience manifest that bring you to a place where you allow yourselves to share it in different ways. And certainly all of the names that have been mentioned, anyone that is creating on that level and tapping into universal law to create on a higher level than what has been offered before is doing so with a direct, what you would call source connection indeed.
And it looks like we're doing a game of tag, just as I was thinking of
Indeed, that it was able to pop in and specifically ask a question and pop out and then ask us.
This is amazing. I've been having this experience recently of finding things connecting in my mind in a very, very different way. Some of it from stuff that you've said on different broadcasts with David, but just different things just connecting and clicking into place. And one of them was the idea of falling from grace being forgetting our abundance, which kind of tickled me because Taya, the practice that you and David have shared with us, is trusting your abundance. Can you speak to the idea that the concept of falling from grace in many aspects, does the idea of falling from grace in any aspect relate to forgetting our natural state of abundance?
It is, again, a product of polarity, and your natural state of being as physical beings. Not one of you is living perfection. In fact, you will notice that the ones who place themselves on the pedestal as a guru very often are found to be very opposite of that. It is almost as if you are overcompensating for something that you're trying to push down and keep hidden by placing yourselves on these pedestals. And we are speaking of a select group of human beings that do such things. And David's sharing of our message, we have always guided him to be very authentic about every downturn that he experiences and utilizing that downturn as a teaching tool. Not long ago, David experienced identity theft. And that immediately became an episode for his podcast, speaking about the identity theft and how it occurred and how he found appreciation for it, how he quickly solved it and moved swiftly right through it. It has zero impact on his life at this point. So the idea of a fall from grace is always a manifestation of someone getting themselves so high vibrationally that they are heralded as this perfect version of a human being and placed on this pedestal, whether they are doing the placing or their audience or fan base or whomever is doing this placing. And inevitably, that vibration is going to drop. And when that vibration drops, if the ego is so attached to that super high pedestal, they can manifest a very powerful fall from grace. And what happens after the fall from grace can be something that completely destroys that persona of who they once were considered, or can be their next rise. Notice you see both. You see instances where people absolutely fall from grace, in your human opinion, and come back with even more tools and more teachings and more inspiring than ever. You all hold the ability to do this. You're all vibrational beings, and you're all moving through a flow of vibration at all times. So if you have allowed a certain degree of success on some topic in your lives, and you are somehow finding yourselves on a very high pedestal, and you begin attaching to the outcome of you being that guru or that super high vibrational person as an example to the world, inevitably your vibration is going to dip. And the higher you have negotiated to present yourself, the harder you're liable to fall. And you see examples of this in your celebrities all the time.
Almost pretending that there isn't contrast in our life in order to hold up a facade. Thank you.
And your global awakening that you have manifested, a key component to that is your questioning of everything, and you're coming to understand collectively that these superhuman beings do not truly exist. Your celebrities and your sports stars and things of this nature that you have placed on this high pedestal over and over again. Notice that during this pandemic time, this global awakening time, there are different stories of various individuals bubbling up that present them in a very different light than they have been considered in the past, because you're questioning of all of these things. You are coming to understand that there is no such thing as a perfect human being that is completely infallible and has figured out via the law of attraction how to live some life of complete abundance with zero contrast. It doesn't exist. That is not your purpose here. And we will tell you that if humanity ever figures out how to harness the power of law of attraction in such a way that you never dip down into lower vibration ever again, and never have any contrast, and never have anything negative, that will end you. That will be the thing that ends humanity. It will not end the wholeness of that which you are, but that will be the thing that would be the true destruction of the human race, or even perhaps planet Earth, when you reach some utopian state of perfection. The good news is you're nowhere near that.
I can tell that I have been missing some great stuff. I'm going to have to play this entire episode back when I'm done. There's some really good stuff going on here. More questions from Carla. Now, she was the one who earlier asked if someone is injured, would you have any suggestions regarding healing? This is a follow-up to that question. She said, is it possible for another person to assist or facilitate the healing?
All healing is self-healing. Whether it is from a spiritual healer or a physician, even scientific physicians will say that if the patient doesn't believe they can heal, there's a far greater chance they're not going to heal. The placebo effect is real. All healing is self-healing. There are people who are adept at bringing people around to their own self-healing. David has had people in his program that have brought themselves from the brink of death and healed. But it was all their own internal work. We are not swooping down and picking and choosing who we're going to heal and who we're not. We're not in the business of doing that. We are here to allow you to have the experiences that you manifest. But we are offering tools for you to use in your own lives that absolutely can lead to changing any aspect, including your own self-healing. And if listening to our words and hearing David share and being in the presence of this energy helps you bridge that gap to believing in your own healing, then absolutely utilize it in that way.
But is it possible for another person to help that healing?
The helping of the healing would be the person presenting themselves in such a way that they are a magical gifted healer, and having the patient buy into that belief, believing that they were being healed by the other person, when in actuality, their belief in the healing is actually what is self-healing.
So a placebo effect in human medical terms.
Possible, and very often well intended by the one that is offering, but the one that is offering, if they are truly connected, understands that that person believing in them is what's really causing the healing to happen.
Mm-hmm. Because some people like to send good energy, so to speak. They like to just focus on a high vibration and count on that high vibration to
certainly transfer to the other person. If human beings tell you suddenly that they're sending you positive thoughts and energy, you automatically are going to feel good about that, and the fact that you're willing to do it and care enough to do it, that raises your vibration in and of itself.
Sure.
Healing is all internal work.
It's basically reinforcing for the person who's being helped. You're doing this, but we're applauding you.
We could certainly come and present this message as one of David being a healer and the laying of hands and things of that nature, and help some, but we are here to help all and bring you to your understanding of your own creative powers. The power lies within all of you. We flow through into all of you, and you can all heal yourselves in any way that you wish to do it.
Yeah, it's a great point, because really all of us, I mean, we're on a similar life path in that we're all here in this same physical existence, pursuing our different paths at the same time within the larger scope of it. But we are all pursuing different paths with different goals, different dreams, different aspirations, different intentions that we're trying to manifest. So
your differences are creating the contrast that creates the expansion.
Yeah, exactly.
That is why it does not matter who believes this message and who does not. The ones who are ready for it and it resonates with are finding it and it's powerful in their lives. But we are not here trying to reach every single human being on planet Earth with this message. Yeah. Because most are not ready for it.
And the reason I was bringing all that up is a way of kind of reminding myself and others that it almost doesn't even matter whether or not we're able to help somebody else. What matters is, can they help themselves? And the ways they're going to want to help themselves will be different. And by bringing the message the way you bring it, that makes it possible for more people to gain that value instead of trying to narrow it down on one thing, like being a faith healer or something like that. So I like the broadness of what you're talking about. Okay. One last question from Carla. This is a little bit more extended, but she says, in some of your past discussions, you mentioned that the current disruption in the world is present because the collective view is changing regarding the government's role in our lives because of religion and the economy. Would it be possible to live in a world without religion, without an economy, or without a government?
Anything is possible. And just because you have manifested as humanity for the past few thousand years in earthly time to where you are now, doesn't mean that you can't question the need for anything and everything in your environment and literally blow it all up. And your questioning of the need for all of these rules and all of this control is what's created this disruption that you're experiencing right now on your planet. The extreme politicians that are elected, not just in the United States, but elsewhere, that are highlighting the fact that you cannot control the outcome and you are not going to allow the government to control your lives. If you adopt that message and understand that regardless of who the leader of your nation is, you can live an abundant life. You can live in joy. You can have an awakening experience. You are depowering your governments and allowing these sort of fringe characters to be elected into office. That disruption ultimately may seem painful in the moment, but is ultimately your collective manifestation of your understanding that you never needed that level of control in the first place.
Yeah, that really resonates with me, and I think I've mentioned that before. The fact is that most people are looking at these election events in fearful ways, and so they're obviously experiencing them in a fearful way. When I look at them, when I see what's going on with some of these leaders who have been elected, I'm seeing exactly what you're talking about. I'm seeing basically the populace waking up to, wow, these people really don't serve me at all. It really isn't helping me. It isn't really great for me. Maybe I need to change what I'm doing in some way. I don't even know what it is. I don't even understand this whole thing because I don't know who the stream is and I don't know who Abraham is. But somehow, on some level, I know this is not working for me. This contrast, which word I am not familiar of using, this is playing up in my mind that I don't like this and I choose something different. I don't even necessarily know how to get there. I choose something different. And in doing that, even though they don't know what they're doing, they're getting to a place that's a better place. And I agree with you that that's just part of what's happening. It's cool. It's
global
great.
Awakening. That is the definition of global awakening, and all of you questioning and communicating like never before on planet Earth. Understand how new your tools, your technology, your tools of communication are compared to the wholeness of the totality of humanity, your existence here on planet Earth. Your ability to communicate globally is really new.
Yeah.
So here you are communicating globally. You are all learning multiple languages. You're all using mediums such as this and learning from one another and coming to understand that there is a common thread that you all seek freedom and joy. You're all questioning your need to be controlled by government or religion or anything else. And in the questioning of it, you're really just coming to see it for what it truly is. And in you're seeing it for what it truly is, you're watching it crumble.
Mm. Yeah. I hope that people will start to take hope from this rather than be fearful. I know that not everybody will, but I'm hopeful some will. I think some already are, even if they're just quiet about it.
The ones that are here and following what we have to offer are the leading edge of thought, as a handful of other teachers on your planet at this time are offering. Mm-hmm. The message rooted in universal law without all the encumbrances of all of this human created spirituality or religion. It is a big confusing tent. And there are tools out there that serve specific audiences, and there's nothing wrong with any of them.
Sure.
But if you find yourself being confused by it all, understand that universal law is very simple and that you are at your best when you are choosing something that really highly resonates with you in a high vibrational space rather than someplace from fear. And when you're in a high vibrational space and you land on a set of teachings that resonate, that turn you inward to your own personal power, you are operating in a very high vibration. And continuing to hold yourself there and doing a little bit of work to tune your default vibration, your subconscious, if you will, to thinking more in terms of trust and releasing fear will activate an awakening within you that will deliver a very different life experience than what you have allowed up until this point.
Very good. Okay. Well, the next question comes from Deanne. And Deanne wrote in, by the way, and sent in a really nice email talking about how she's been a fan since back when Wendy Dillard was on the show, and she's come to love all of the co-hosts. So I just wanted to share with you guys, Alyx and Dan in particular, and you, David, to the degree you can hear as you're also streaming or translating the stream, that this is one more listener who's written in and said how much she loves the show. But she has a rather involved question, and this is on a topic that we have touched on indirectly at times, but she's going at it a little more directly. She says, how do we know what dimension we are in? Once earlier this summer, I was out for a walk. Folks were biking by, walking, running, etc. And it all felt so surreally good. I can't explain it other than to say that. At that moment, I thought, aha, this is what 4D experience is like, the 4D that I'm hearing about. And then the pandemic rages on, there's social unrest, all that stuff. Now, I've heard that there will be 2 Earths. Did I get a small taste of the new one and then I'm stuck on 3D or what? So she's a little bit confused about 3D, 4D, 5D stuff. Thanks, and so much fun to listen.
This is a very good follow-up question to what we were just sharing regarding the big tent of spirituality and all of this human construct around your connection to the energetic realm. All of these terms, 5D, 4D, David has heard of 12D, these are all human creation. All of these angelic beings, ascended masters, all of these things are human beings identifying a connection to the energetic realm and identifying it in a human way. Planet Earth is but one of infinite environments that are physical. And beyond physical, there is consciousness. The consciousness realm is what we refer to as the energetic realm. the energetic realm designed and created the entire universe, including every aspect of your human body. It is consciousness, it is thought. And these different dimensions that you are perceiving are simply your vibration. So you raise your vibration. When you are up your spiral, you are in higher vibration. If you want to label that a higher dimension, there's nothing wrong with that. Or if you want to label it the vortex, there's nothing wrong with that. It's all the same. You are elevating yourselves while in physical through your focused thought to your higher connection to the energetic realm, which is your higher self, which is source, which is God, which is us. It is all the same. And you all have it. So when you start doing this work and begin playing with your vibration and detuning fear and zooming out to a higher perspective that you all have available to you, that's why it's so powerful for you. That's why it's so easy for your leaders to harness that connection that you know is there and label it a deity that has a set of rules that you're supposed to obey and donate to. Mm-hmm. Because you all know that it's there, but you're all coming through a period where that did serve a purpose for a while. And now it's turned into a negative contrasting experience for many, not for all. Nope. And for those for whom it is not a negative contrasting experience are being served by it. That placebo effect of believing of the healing hands of Jesus Christ coming down and saving you and healing you, for the one who is experiencing that is absolutely as real as the ones that are listening to what we have to offer. You all create your own bubbles of reality, and creating a very high vibrational bubble of reality and buying into a set of teachings that tells you that you are operating in 4D or 5D and that there's going to be a separate earth, your belief and buy-in to that creates that reality for you. So we are not guiding you away from any of it. There's no wrong in any of it. If it is leading you to a life of freedom and joy, then you are on the right path, regardless of what path that is. Period.
And that is a very key phrase, a life of freedom and joy. And I say that it's key because I think it's a phrase that everyone would resonate to, but if we could find a way to get people to describe in detail what it meant for them, we'd find very different answers, because everybody has a different idea of what freedom is. Everybody has a different idea of what joy is. Different things make different people joyful. And some of them
in a religious scenario that are very judgmental and very much you have a code of behavior that you have to adhere to strictly or be put to death. And we are to tell you that there are people who are living in that scenario who are living in their own bubble of freedom and joy in that scenario. And if you're not in it, you cannot begin to identify with that. Mm-hmm. But they are.
Yeah. And that takes some doing to get used to that, to accept it. It's a very powerful thing to gain acceptance of it, because it leads to letting go of a whole bunch of stuff that you don't need to hang on to anymore. But it takes some doing, because if it's not part of your own frame of reference, you're trying to imagine someone else's frame of reference. That's always challenging. We don't even know most of the time what's going on in somebody else's head. So it's a big deal to be able to make that leap and say, I appreciate the fact that they appreciate stuff that I care nothing about or might even dislike intensely.
And we will point out that during this period of awakening that we speak of, very often when David is sharing our message, that does not mean that all human beings on planet Earth are going to have this simultaneous spiritual awakening, and that you're all going to shun your religion and your government and all of these things simultaneously. This is something that is an evolutionary process. What is happening is that the collective flow, the majority of the collective flow, there's more energy flowing toward what you would call a thought of questioning and a thought of not needing the encumbrances of religion and government and police forces and all of these things that is causing this disruption that will cause a change. But you're not likely to see all of that crumble in even a few lifetimes. It's just going to evolve to something different that is perhaps not as encumbering as is what you're allowing right now.
Encumbering, that's an interesting term, an interesting word, because encumbering requires to some degree bringing in the encumbrance. That's not something that we humans normally associate, but those of us who are energetically attuned, who talk about things within this circle, totally understand. We're the ones who who bring in that encumbrance. And that is another example of a challenging concept, because we're so used to, we're so trained, so to speak, by our society to believe that encumbrances are imposed upon us, not that we bring them upon ourselves. And yet, the more that we study this stuff, the more we realize, yeah, we bring them on ourselves. And more importantly, it's okay if we do that. It's not like we did something wrong.
Indeed.
In fact, when we can come to that realization, that's really high vibration right there, isn't it? Because now all of a sudden we're at peace with who we are, where we come from, what we're connecting to. It is a level of peace that many people aspire to throughout their lives, and that's what we're achieving right now.
There is nothing more peaceful and satisfying to you as a human being than total acceptance of what is.
Yeah, that's true. So, Daniel, got more questions? Believe it or not, we went through all the questions. Despite all the disruptions, despite the fact that you were jumping in with your own stuff, we ran out of questions from the listeners. We actually have like a few minutes left to ask another question of our own.
I actually have to leave on the nose, so I
have to leave on the nose? Okay. I guess not that.
But I wanted to say thank you. I'm glad that nothing came for me not to be on the show today, because there was something threatening me not to be on. But everything is perfect.
It worked out beautifully. I'm sorry that, I guess Alyx got knocked out. I'm sorry that...
doesn't like Alyx made it back. But.
Yeah, well, hopefully everything's okay there. I'm going to follow up then with a question of my own. I started off with a question of my own. I'm going to follow up. And Daniel, we'll say goodbye to you because I know you have to go. So take care of yourself. We'll see you on Thursday. But I'm going to follow up on where I started the show, because I started the show with the concept of, as expansion occurs, energy increases. And this is probably not something most people are interested in. It's something I'm interested in. I'm intensely interested, because I'm always curious to see where are we making progress as a society toward our push. I see it as a push toward understanding better. I see even though science has so much farther to go to understand the nature of source energy, I'm excited by the steps that are being taken to get there. And I don't know how long it'll take to get there. I don't think it matters. I just think it's fun that steps are being taken in that direction. And the reason I think it's fun is because I think it once more points to the fact that even when we say we are disconnected from source, or I need to be more connected and so forth, we're actually always connected, like you were saying at the beginning of the show. The connection's always there, even if we try to deny it, even if we try to twist away from it, even if we try to distort it, the connection's always there. It's continuous.
We are always there. The only cutting off is the lowering of vibration and drowning out the signal that is always present.
Which is a temporary thing anyway.
Polarity will pull you down in vibration, and polarity will drive you up in vibration. Naturally. Mm-hmm. There's a natural flow to that. And of course, your runaway thoughts and the human mind has evolved to such a place, and you have stimulated yourselves to such a place between the things that you consume as far as food goes and the things that you consume visually and intellectually that are stimulating you. Your brains are more stimulated than they've ever been. So there's more opportunity for thought, but there's also more opportunity for thought that drowns out our signal. That's always present. Mm-hmm. And as we always say, there's contrast on all topics. So all of the technology and all of the stimulation of your minds have brought you to this place where you are creating on a higher level faster than you've ever created before. But that also can serve to cut you off from the very natural connection and the very natural state of freedom and joy that you allowed yourselves to exist in for millions of years in different forms, and until a very recent history where you have been confined by your government and religion and countries and all of these other things that have been created on your planet that have brought you to this place of technology and this rapid advancement, but it's also cut you off. And now you're coming back around and you're awakening to this abundance in such a way that you're understanding now that you can have all of your technology and all of your evolution, but you're longing to get back to that natural state of freedom and joy in your connection.
And so I didn't really ask my question. My question is this. I'm guessing that while we can cut ourselves off, or as Abraham says, pinch ourselves off from source, I'm guessing we can't do it permanently forever. That eventually we reconnect. Or what's the opposite of pinching off? Pinching on? I don't know. But eventually we let go of that pinch and we recognize our connection again. And that always
is up in high vibration no matter what.
Yeah.
But if you constructed a bubble of reality where your low vibrational thoughts and activities are serving you in some way, you have the power to pull yourselves right back down and not allow yourselves to stay up in that high vibration very long.
Sure. Yeah.
Examples of that on your planet as well.
But I think it's reassuring for me anyway, and I suspect for other people too, to realize no matter how much we dip into the contrast, it's not forever. It's for, some duration, for some experience, but then we rise back up.
You are manifesting that cycle for growth.
And
this is where we guide you to appreciation of whatever you've manifested from lower vibrational territory. Because the faster you find appreciation for it, the faster you will raise in vibration and solve it. And expand in the solving of it. Find the value. It all serves you.
I think this came from the book Illusions, but I'm not 100% sure. It doesn't matter. The analogy is what I really like. The analogy is of humans being like otters at play. We are otters at play within the realm of source energy. And the play is continuous.
You were here on a brief weekend trip. And
right.
Not such a big deal, regardless of how your life turns out, is the sum of your thoughts and your vibration created by those thoughts. There's no getting this wrong. There's no messing up and not getting the life right and having to come back and relive it. All of these beliefs. Whatever the experience is it an experience of expansion and service to your eternal being.
Well, thank you very much, Stream, for answering all these questions and thank you also for your insights earlier when I was trying to hold it together and I needed a reminder, no, stop trying to hold it all together. It holds together just fine. Appreciate that much. I'm going to let you reconnect or disconnect, I guess, or whatever the phrase is, so that David can be his own unique self again. And in the meantime, I'm going to remind our listeners, once again, be a subscriber to the LOA Today app. You just download it from either the App Store or from the Play Store, depending on what device you have, because that's where all this cool stuff happens. That's where also you get to ask questions. If you want to ask a question of the Stream of David, use the app. There's an actual page that's designed specifically for that purpose. And that question will be asked. You can see we ask all the questions that the listeners send in. So please take advantage of that. And David, welcome back. And you've been through an interesting show here. I don't know how aware you were, but I kept getting knocked out by power outages, and the Stream and Daniel carried on.
It's interesting because I kind of recall starting with you, and here I'm ending with you. And
what happened in the middle?
Whatever happened in the middle remains to be seen. I guess I'll go back and watch the YouTube.
Well, that was my comment because I got knocked off so many times. I got to go back and watch too because I don't know what happened for part of the show. I was not here for part of it.
Yeah. I always have a good feeling when I channel, certainly, but I always feel like the Stream gets a really good workout on the show. There's just questions, so I can't wait to go back and see.
Well, you get a pretty good workout yourself because you've already told us in the past how it's both exhilarating and draining. And I saw as you were disconnecting there, I mean, you were rubbing your head like you could almost see yourself just releasing that. I don't know how else to describe what it is. I kind of envision it as like a globe of energy that you experience. I may be wrong about that.
Very, very, very powerful energy. And when I first started doing it and sharing it verbally, especially, and people started interacting with it, it knocked me. I thought I was going to die physically.
Really?
Oh, it was it was a severe, it ended up being a cool thing, but man, I couldn't walk. I was bedridden. I was so sick. My doctor was telling me to go to the emergency room. And I thought, they're not going to know what's going on with me.
All right.
Yeah.
What got you through that?
The Stream message, my desire to push through and share it. And then there was, a woman named Kat who was a healer. She's actually a registered nurse, but she's also a spiritual healer who kind of clued me into what was happening and why, my body absorbing all this energy was just reacting to it. And once I understood it, I learned how to regulate it and deal with it in a different way. And it's gotten a lot more comfortable to me now because I do it so often. But, it's that resistance. It's that I'm allowing this powerful thing to come through me, but I'm still freaked out by it. So I've got resistance around it, and it wreaks havoc on your body when you're like that. But since then, it just gets better and better and better. I love doing it.
And one last thing.
Real physical environment with actual people there is, I love that we have all this technology, especially right now with COVID, but doing it in a physical environment with people present in the room is magical.
I can imagine. Yeah. I look forward to the day when I get to experience that. Yeah. That's going to be fun.
I understand why, Esther can do anything she wants with Abraham at this point. I say she's the Beyonce of channeling, right?
Yeah, true.
She's got a big following. She comes out and does her thing as Abraham and doesn't do a lot else. And she's got it down, and it's transformative. People love it. And so it's just interesting to me that, she loves that. That's what she does, is in-person interaction with other people in these workshops and cruises and stuff. And I understand totally now why she chooses to do that.
That's been evident to me, especially since Jerry passed, because I wondered after Jerry passed, Jerry was the questioner. Jerry was the one who asked all the questions. Yeah. And when he was gone, the first thought that goes through anyone's mind is, well, she lost a loved one, she lost her mate. And that's always a very, very disruptive, often painful experience. On the other hand, she had Abraham to talk with and communicate with, and I figured that would help get her through. But I think you put your finger on what really, really keeps her going. She loves doing those workshops.
Yeah,
she loves doing.
There's just nothing like it. So that's something I'm eager to get to doing also, is do live workshops and traveling and stuff like that, because that's really all I want to do.
So that's the last thing we have to talk about.
For me though, so I have some writing to do as well, but. That and the boot camp kind of runs itself these days. I have great coaches and stuff that work with me in there, and I create the content, but they coach it and train it. So, it'd be nice to be able to get out and do some workshops for sure.
But so that leads to the last question of the day, which is, okay, people are hearing about all this cool stuff. We haven't really talked much about Taya, although maybe you did while I was knocked out. I don't know. But Taya is a big deal too. You have a number of things that are out there. How do people reach out to you? Obviously, we have one good way. They can do it through the app, because on the host page, there's a link to the website. But what are the good ways for people to reach out, and what should they be considering?
Well, the hub is the website, thestreamofdavid.com, and then there's thestreamofdavid.com/Taya, TYA, is the practice that we've created around the stream's teachings. And that's what I teach in Taya Boot Camp. I teach it all over the place all the time. Boot camps for people who want to dive in and work in a 12-week environment where you've got tools and coaching and accountability and all that stuff to really change your default vibration.
Well, all right then. So thank you, David, for voicing the stream of David, and for sharing with us all these wonderful insights. We got all of our questions answered despite a tornado warning and being knocked offline all those times, but you persevered. So thank you for sticking it out. Thank you to our live stream listeners, and especially thank you to our podcast listeners as well. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.